Welcome to Election Recon. It is Monday, October 5th, 2020, 30 days until Election Day here in the United States. I'm Josh Whitfield, and this is another weekday election update. Let's start first with the news. President Trump is out of Walter Reed Army Medical Center. He has been discharged by his doctors who say he has improved but is not out of the woods yet. How the president's COVID diagnosis, admittance into the hospital, and now discharge will affect the race, nobody quite knows yet. Also, other than the IBD tip poll that we reported on last week, a plethora of other polling has come in, and we will get to that in a minute. But nationally, most polls now are in agreement that Biden has seen a post-debate bump in the polling nationally. And that is not the whole story. If any of you have been following our social media today and over the weekend, you will have seen that our model has shifted ever so slightly towards President Trump despite these polling numbers, and we're going to explain why that is and why other models like ours are doing that as opposed to the models that are more heavily based on polling and why they are moving away from President Trump and in the direction of former Vice President Joe Biden. But before we get into the state of the race and this weekday update, I and my partners, Jeff and Lauren, we just wanted to take one moment and stop and thank you, all of you who are listening or watching this show, the Election Recon podcast, all of our content on social media and YouTube. We have seen a tremendous spike in support, in listeners, in views, in follows, in likes, all in the last 24 to 48 hours. It's been tremendously motivating for us. We can't thank you enough. Your support will help keep this project staying off the ground. We've seen tremendous increase in support and viewership in our podcast analytics on YouTube and Facebook, especially. Saturday's full-length episode has been a tremendous hit. We're nearing 300 listens on the podcast, 200 views on YouTube. We're almost at 300 followers on Facebook. Still lagging behind in Twitter and Instagram, but to the 15 and 30 followers there, we do appreciate you guys too. So please, thank you all so much. And if you do like our show and you do like our content, it'll be you guys sharing to help make this thing continue to catch fire. And we are doing it for you. We're doing it for people like you, like us, who are just trying to find that respite, that oasis in the desert of chaos, in the desert of news bias and spin and just craziness out there wherever you go. So you can have that spot in your week to get a spot where everyone's included, wherever you are in the world, in the country, wherever your political views are, and you can come and just get some straight up facts, some legit, non-biased, straight edge, straight talk discussion on what's going on in election 2020 and current events. So we hope we're delivering for you. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. And again, thank you so very much. And now taking a look at the state of the race for election 2020. First, for the presidency of the United States. Taking a look at the president's job approval, 2 polls over the weekend and today, starting first with Rasmussen Reports. Rasmussen Reports has the president underwater 7%, 53 disapprove, 46 approve. And a job approval poll from NBC News and the Wall Street Journal has the president down 12 points, 55 disapprove, 43 approve. And now a national poll also from NBC News, Wall Street Journal for the presidency has Biden plus 14, 53, 39. And another national poll, this from JTN RMG, has Biden plus 8, 51, 43. And now a whole host of state polling from the weekend and today. First, a poll out of Pennsylvania from CBS News YouGov has Biden plus 7, 51, 44. A poll out of Ohio from CBS News YouGov has the race tied 47, 47. Another poll out of Ohio from Trafalgar Group, a Republican-affiliated firm, has Trump plus 4, 48, 44. A poll out of the state of Arizona from New York Times and Siena College has Biden plus 8, 49, 41. A poll out of Delaware, from the University of Delaware, has Biden plus 21, 54, 33. A poll out of the state of North Carolina from PPP, a Democrat-affiliated organization, has Biden plus 4, 50 to 46. A poll out of Pennsylvania from Reuters, Ipsos, has Biden plus 5, 50 to 45. A poll out of Wisconsin, also from Reuters, Ipsos, has Biden plus 6, 50 to 44. A poll out of Utah from Y2 Analytics has Trump plus 10, 50 to 40. And a poll out of Alabama from Auburn University has Trump plus 20, 57, 37. Now taking a look at Nate Silver's 538 model, which we here at Election Recon actually believe is the most sophisticated, the best model, and Nate Silver is the best prognosticator in the business. However, it should be noted from what we know of 538's model, it is heavily based on polling. It has Trump down to 18 in 100, or 18% chance to win the election. An all-time low for the president, both in 2016 and 2020. Biden now 81% chance to win based on 538's model. What's very interesting is the primary model from Stony Brook University still has Trump at 91% to win based on its primary turnout, but they do have a caveat that they reserve the right to adjust that model because of the COVID pandemic. Thus far, they have not adjusted that model. So two models that we take very seriously here at Election Recon, showing two very different outcomes, and both prognosticators holding firm with their methodology. 30 days until we find out who's right. Finishing up now with the presidency of the United States, it is interesting, and we're going to continue to pay attention to it. The Real Clear Politics, the RCP battleground comparison. So how the candidates are doing in the battleground or key states compared 2016 compared to 2020. So Trump is doing better by almost 0.5% or 0.4% in the aggregate polling RCP collects in the battleground states today as compared to 2016. So the information, the data is all over the place. And we're going to talk just a little bit more about that here in a minute. But first, there has been 3 shifts in the Election Recon predictive model today for president. All 3 favor President Trump. First, Arizona has flipped. It has flipped from tilt Biden to tilt Trump. Montana has moved in Trump's favor from lean Trump to likely Trump. And in Wisconsin, that has moved in Trump's favor from lean Biden to tilt Biden. That leaves the Election Recon predictive scoreboard at 280 projected electoral votes for Biden-Harris, 258 for Trump-Pence, and 11 electoral vote pickup today in our model for President Trump. But before you conservatives, MAGAs, Trump supporters, Republicans out there start cheering when you hear that result today in our model, or you Democrats, liberals, Biden supporters, Trump haters start casting and throwing stones at us, hear me. Yes, the model looks much closer than most other models out there between Biden and Trump for us. Our model is still saying the same thing it did last week, that this is an incredibly close election right now. It's saying it's incredibly close. I know we put a lot of faith here in Nate Silver's model at 538, which says this is not really close, that the president has a less than 1 in 5 chance of winning, and Biden has a greater than 4 in 5 chance of winning. Or Stony Brook saying that the president's 9 in 10 to win, and Biden's less than 1 in 10 to win. Our model differing from those models. Our methodology is clearly different. What we're doing is different. Understand this, okay? Our model has 143 electoral votes in 8 states and 2 separate congressional districts, 1 in Maine and 1 in Nebraska. 143 EVs tilt, which means our model says 1.5% or less between each candidate in those states right now is what our model is projecting. In 8 states, that's how close our model thinks that it is. And another 80 electoral votes in lean states, which is 1.5 to 4%. So no one go crazy. All our model is saying right now is this thing is super, super tight. And remember, our model is only driven by about 1/3 in the polling. It is buffered against what we believe can be the elasticity in polling, the errors in polling, and yes, to all of you conservatives who have written into us so far in the week that we've launched this program, yes, the potential bias there might be in polling. Remember, the other 2/3 of our model is driven by 2 factors. First, what we call the environmentals, and the other, what we call local data. The environmental data being things like how's the economy doing, what's important to the voters, such as what's the top issues and how do the voters feel about them, and how those top issues, who do the voters feel can do a better job handling that, the president or the former vice president. The environmentals being like, what's the crime rate? What's the poverty rate? All these things we factor into our model, and the trends of the past. And the trends of the past and how that's affected the race or the district or the state in the last 2 election cycles. And then with the local data, we're talking about voter registration, the early vote, who's coming out to vote that we know so far what's going on. We factor those things in, and we think those things make us uniquely different by how we weight our model as compared to these other models out there. And that's why our model is showing up a little differently than some of these other models. And I think it's taken away the extremes of just one data set or weighting heavily a group of polls like Nate Silver does. And again, I cannot stress enough, there's nobody I respect more in the prognostication statistical business than Nate Silver and 538. But clearly, his model, 538's model, is poll driven heavily, and I'm not sure how they weight or what they have going on over there, and I respect that model tremendously. It is very possible he could be right. It's very possible Stony Brook could be right. And you know what? We think it's very possible we could be right. So you have the primary model saying that Trump's going to win for sure. You have 538 saying it is highly, highly likely that Biden's going to win, but not. Again, Nate Silver's model is still saying there's roughly a 1 in 5 chance that Trump can pull it out. And our model's just saying this thing's much, much closer than those 2 models think. And our model can even surprise me. The 3 of us put this model together, and it can still surprise me, like today with the state of Arizona. Gave us a result that I was not expecting. The flip from Arizona today caught me by surprise. It caught me by surprise, especially with how well Democrat Mark Kelly, running for Senate in Arizona, is doing in the statewide race there. It really caught me by surprise that our model flipped that state today. But when we look into how our model is running the numbers and how we're running the simulations, what we're seeing is, despite the polling going hard in the paint for Democrats and Joe Biden, there's no doubt about that, the overwhelming majority of polling in this country post the debate last week has shifted significantly into Biden and the Democrats' favor. But the environmentals and the local data we are seeing has moved hard in the paint to Trump's favor. And we're going to see how it battles out in our model. And, of course, we're all going to see how it battles out on Election Day and the days after, as this presidential race and these congressional and Senate races are decided. Moving now to the U.S. Senate. A poll out of Arizona today from the New York Times and Siena College in the Senate race between incumbent Republican Senator McSally and Democratic challenger Kelly. Kelly plus 11, 50 to 39. Also out of the state of Delaware from the University of Delaware. In the Senate race between incumbent Democratic Senator Coons versus Republican challenger Witzke, Coons plus 30, 57, 27. Out of the state of Alabama from Auburn University, Republican challenger Tuberville against incumbent Democrat Senator Jones. Tuberville plus 12, 54, 42. And lastly, a poll out of North Carolina from PPP, a Democrat-affiliated firm, in the race between Democratic challenger Cunningham and incumbent Republican Senator Tillis. Cunningham +6, 48, 42. And this still leaves the election recon predictive scoreboard at 51 projected seats for the Democrats, 49 projected seats for Republicans in the U.S. Senate. Moving to the United States House of Representatives, a poll out of the New York 24th Congressional District from New York Times and Siena College in the race between Democrat Butler and Republican incumbent Katko has Butler +2, 42-40, that race within the margin of error. A poll out of the New Jersey 2nd from Monmouth between Democrat challenger Kennedy and Republican incumbent Van Drew has Kennedy +6, 50-44. Out of the Oklahoma 5th from CHS and Associates in the race between Bice, Republican, the incumbent, versus Horn, the Democratic challenger, Bice +4, 49-45. And a poll out of Delaware in the at-large congressional district from the University of Delaware has Blunt Rochester, the Democrat incumbent, versus Murphy, the Republican challenger. Blunt Rochester is up significantly, +32, 51-29. And there's been two shifts in the election recon predictive model for the United States House of Representatives. First, the Pennsylvania 10th has moved in the Democrats' favor from tilt GOP to tilt Democrat. That a flip in our model. Also, out of the New Jersey 2nd Congressional, from tilt GOP to tilt Democrat, that also a flip in our model. This brings the election recon predictive scoreboard to 238 projected seats for Democrats, 197 for Republicans, a +2 gain today for Democrats in our House model. Moving on to governors in the United States. A poll out of Delaware from the University of Delaware in the race between Carney, the Democrat incumbent, and Murray, his Republican challenger. Carney +29, 55-26. Out of North Carolina from PPP, a Democrat-affiliated firm. Cooper, the Democrat incumbent, versus Forrest, the Republican challenger. Cooper +12, 52-40. And out of Utah, from Y2 Analytics, Cox, the Republican incumbent, versus Peterson, the Democratic challenger. Cox +26, 55-26. No shifts in the election recon predictive model today. Thus, the scoreboard remains 27 projected governor's mansions for Republicans, 23 projected governor's mansions for Democrats. Moving now to state legislative races across the country. First, upper chambers or unicameral chambers. No polling, no shifts in our model today. This leaves the election recon predictive scoreboard at 29 upper chambers for Republicans, 21 for the Democrats. And now taking a look at lower chambers. Again, no polling, no shifts in our model today. Therefore, the scoreboard remains 27 projected lower chambers in control of Republicans, 22 in control of the Democrats. Again, we want to thank all of you who have liked, subscribed, and followed so far. We again have seen a significant uptick in both views, listens, follows, likes, subscribes, etc., and we sincerely 100% appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, if you like our content, we ask you to help keep this project off the ground by sharing, following, liking, subscribing, listening to our content. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube at Election Recon, And you can listen to our podcast where we do these shorter weekday updates Monday through Friday and a longer, full 1 hour more in-depth episode on Saturdays. Find our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or Stitcher Radio. This has been another weekday update. I'm Josh Whitfield. Thanks for being with us this evening. Good night.